Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Today we're taking a look at something a little different.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a motivational story I saw on YouTube.
okay.
And it's this really interesting anecdote
Mm-hmm.
about a school teacher and her student
Okay.
that really gets you thinking about how technology is impacting our relationships.
Interesting.
Yeah, so what's really effective is how this story uses familiar characters
Right.
and a simple situation to just kind of pull you in.
Yeah, I can see that. It reminds me of those classic fables,
Right.
with a hidden message kind of below the surface.
Exactly. So the story starts with this primary school English teacher named Anjali, and she's giving her students this writing prompt, my wish.
Okay. Classic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty standard stuff.
Right. But that prompt, though, it really taps into something fundamental, right?
Yes.
Like, what do we all yearn for? What are those deep desires?
Absolutely. It really sets you up for this emotional payoff,
Hmm.
which the story definitely delivers on.
Okay. I'm interested.
So one student, Manish, writes this wish that is so profound and so heartbreaking that it brings Anjali to tears.
Wow. So this is where it goes beyond just a simple story, right? It
Yeah.
becomes more of a statement about the costs of our connected world.
Exactly. So what is this wish? Well, Manish wishes for mobile phones to disappear.
Interesting.
He talks about how his entire family, from his grandparents to his parents, everyone is just constantly on their devices.
Oh, wow.
And he feels invisible, like completely ignored.
It's ironic in a way, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Mobile phones were supposed to connect us, but here they're driving people apart.
Yeah, and it gets even more poignant because Manish doesn't just want phones to vanish. He actually wants to become one.
Like a homophone.
Yeah, he thinks that's the only way his family will actually see him,
Yep.
acknowledge his presence,
That's a powerful image.
isn't it?
It makes you see the situation from the child's perspective
Mm-hmm.
and really understand that depth of loneliness.
And here's the twist. Manish is actually Anjali's own son. Yeah, so suddenly the story becomes much more personal.
Right. It's not just some commentary out there. It's like holding up a mirror.
Exactly. It makes you wonder if even the most well-intentioned parents can get caught up in this digital distraction.
Yeah, and maybe unintentionally neglect those closest to them.
It's definitely a wake-up call for all of us.
For sure. Yeah, it's like that saying, the cobbler's children have no shoes.
Right.
Even Anjali, a teacher who you would think values communication, she gets caught up in it too.
It's a powerful reminder that it can happen to anyone. And it's not just this fictional story either, right?
Yeah.
Like, haven't we all felt that pull of our phones,
Oh, absolutely.
even when we're with people we care about?
Yeah, there's tons of research now on the effects of screen time on relationships.
Yeah.
Studies have shown that it can lead to less empathy, communication problems, and even increased loneliness, especially in younger people.
So it's not just anecdotal evidence.
Nope, it's backed up by science.
Wow, that's kind of unsettling.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the neuroscience behind it. Our brains release dopamine.
That feel-good chemical.
Exactly. When we get notifications or interact on social media.
It's like we're training ourselves to crave those digital hits.
Right, and that can make it really hard to resist, even when we know we should be focusing on the people in front of us.
So it's like we're prioritizing those digital interactions over real human connection.
Yeah, and that can have long-term consequences for our relationships.
It makes you wonder, how can we really connect with someone when we're constantly checking our phones or only half listening to their stories?
It's a real challenge.
The story ends with this line, "For the world, you are just one person, but for your family, you are the entire world."
Oh, that's powerful.
Right. It really makes you think about the importance of those close connections.
Absolutely. It speaks to our human need to belong, to feel loved and valued.
Yeah, and it makes you ask yourself, are we giving our loved ones that same level of attention and presence?
Right. Are we treating them like they are our whole world? Or are we letting our devices steal those precious moments?
That's a tough question.
It is. It's all about finding that balance between our digital lives and our real-world relationships.
So it's not about demonizing technology altogether.
No, not at all. It's about using it intentionally and being mindful of its impact.
Okay, so what can we do? How do we break free from this distraction and reclaim those genuine moments of connection?
Well, it starts with awareness. Just recognizing how much time you're spending on your devices and what you might be missing out on because of it.
Like what specifically?
Well, think about it. Do you find yourself scrolling through your phone during dinner with your family?
Oh yeah, I've definitely been there.
Or checking your messages while having a conversation with a friend?
It's like an automatic reflex sometimes.
It is. It's a habit. But the good news is habits can be changed.
So how do we change it?
Start small.
Hmm.
Maybe designate certain times of day as tech-free zones,
Okay.
like during meals or family time.
I like that.
Or even something as simple as putting your phone in another room while you're talking to someone.
Yeah, just getting it out of sight.
Exactly. Little changes like that can make a big difference.
So it's about being more intentional with our technology use.
Exactly. And the more you practice being present, the easier it becomes.
It's like building a muscle.
Right. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And it's not just about the quantity of time we spend with loved ones,
Yeah.
right? It's about the quality of that time.
Absolutely. Put away your phone. Make eye contact. Listen attentively.
Be present.
Exactly. Those are the moments that create lasting memories and deepen relationships.
I was reading that even brief moments of positive social interaction can have a huge impact on our well-being.
It's true. It can lower stress, improve our mood, and even boost our immune system.
Wow. So it's not about grand gestures. It's about those everyday interactions.
Precisely. And the more we prioritize those moments, the more we create a sense of belonging and happiness.
Both for ourselves and the people we care about.
Exactly. It's like we're investing in our emotional well-being.
And in a world that's so fast-paced and digitally driven, those moments of human connection become even more valuable.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder, like, how much are we missing out on just because we're so glued to these devices?
Right.
What experiences, what connections are just passing us by because our attention is somewhere else?
It's like we're living in this parallel universe, right?
Yep.
We're bombarded with information and stimulation, but we're also feeling more isolated and disconnected.
It's a weird paradox.
Totally.
Yeah.
We have all these tools to connect with people instantly, but it feels harder than ever to build real meaningful relationships.
And I think part of the problem is that technology often shows us this idealized version of reality.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like social media feeds are full of these curated highlights.
That's all the best moments.
Right. And it creates this illusion that everyone else is living these perfect, happy lives.
And then you compare your own life.
Yeah. You start to feel inadequate.
Like you're not measuring up.
Right. And it's no wonder that so many people are struggling with loneliness and anxiety. Yeah. It's a real problem. And the more time we spend in these digital echo chambers, the more distorted our view of reality becomes.
So we start to crave those likes and comments.
Yeah, those little dopamine hits.
And we forget about the deeper, more fulfilling connections that come from real-world interactions.
It's like we're trading depth for breadth.
So how do we break free from this? How do we shift our focus back to those connections that truly matter?
It's about being more present in our lives. You know, putting down the devices, engaging with the people around us.
And just be in the moment.
Exactly. It's like hitting the reset button on our attention spans.
And learning to appreciate those simple pleasures of face-to-face interaction.
Yeah, like sharing a meal with loved ones without checking our phones.
Having a conversation without distractions.
Just being there, you know, truly present and attentive to the people we care about.
This deep dive has really got me thinking about my own relationship with technology.
Yeah, me too.
I'm definitely going to be more mindful about putting my phone away and making those real-life connections a priority.
That's great to hear. It's a journey, right?
Yeah,
There will be times when we slip back into old habits.
I'm sure.
But the key is to keep practicing, keep striving for that balance.
So to wrap things up, what's one piece of advice you would give our listeners about navigating this whole technology connection thing?
That's a good question. I think I would say think back to the last time you put your phone down and had a truly meaningful conversation with someone. Remember how that felt. And ask yourself, what would it take to experience that more often? Maybe it's setting aside time for tech-free dinners with your family, or just being more present when you're talking to friends. Whatever it is, start small, be consistent, and I think you'll be amazed at how these little changes can impact your relationships and your overall well-being.
That's great advice. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
And until next time, stay curious and stay connected. In the real world, that is